that I'd like to deliver here, and I hope that you can hear it and it touches you. Okay? When I want to start off with, before I came to Africa, I had this idea. I had this idea that I lived in America and that I wasn't born into good family. I wasn't brought into wealth. And it was very difficult for me. But when I looked at myself and I looked at the rest of the world, I realized I had so much more that was just handed on a plate, whereas other people could work all day long and not get what they needed. So I had this crazy idea that it was possible to live in a world where we were all equal. I had this crazy idea that we could live in a world where we all felt free, free to make good choices. Free to make choices not based on our pocketbooks, but based on our ethics. Today marks a momentous occasion towards the realization of that thought, of that dream. Today we're making history in Africa. We're providing the real tools and the real skills that's going to be required to bring the youth of this generation the opportunity, the freedom, and the knowledge to create a new world. Voices of Africa for Sustainable Development, the NGO which is partnering with ANU here, and my team and students, was created because of a vision from God. Before coming to Kenya, I didn't know anything about God. I didn't know anything about faith. I didn't know anything about trust. And I didn't know anything about hope. When I came here, I realized that the people had something that they had to teach me. They had to teach me to believe in something more. That something had to be so important that you just don't stop, you keep moving. In the Bible it says that God's people die for a lack of knowledge. And nowhere is that more true than in sub-Saharan Africa, which is why I chose to come and work here. What I find shocking is that despite the fact that we have so many people who pretend to be Christians, we have so many churches, so many of these things, we still have so many poor. We still have so many forgotten. We still have so many who have so much potential, but just aren't able to fulfill it because they don't have the tools and the skills that are required. The path to where we stand today has been rough. The NGO began its first project in rural Bungoma South. It's a very small village in the western part of the country. We worked with a small farmers group and set up the first solar-powered computer center in 2005 in Kenya. It was a nightmare, to be honest. We had our equipment stolen during the post-election violence. It was very difficult to get people to come to train. There were huge hurdles because a lot of the people who wanted to train were women, but their husbands wouldn't let them. And if they snuck out to get training, they'd be beaten when they got home. I suddenly realized the problem in front of me was much bigger and much deeper than I ever could have anticipated before I got on the airplane. At that point, during the post-election violence, me and my family, we had to flee to Tanzania. We lost everything. We had a few bags of clothes, and we made it with our lives, and I thank the Lord for that. We spent 10 months teaching skills, health skills and income generation skills, to rural women's groups climbing the mountains of Mount Meru, because there are these foothills, and amongst them you find little villages. And each of these little villages are women's groups. Now most of these places hadn't previously been touched by development. So the fact that we had come there and we wanted to teach them was very exciting for them. It was also very exciting for us because in our situation, we were living on less than $2 a day, just like the people. We knew them. We were friends. I understood what their problems are. They understood what my problems are. We broke those cross-cultural barriers. So it gave me a depth of understanding about what I'm supposed to do here. How do we really make change? There are a lot of people with good intentions, but that don't truly understand how to penetrate the problems that are within this culture and within this history. to Kenya, we officially registered Voices of Africa as an NGO, and we moved to Likoni. Likoni is on the south coast of Mombasa. It is an informal settlement. We call it a slum. We started working with people in the community there, particularly youth groups, and the new youth group, Voice of Diaby, was created from working together. It took us almost a year to have all of the money that we needed to start the training center in Likoni. We had the location, everything was worked out, we were taken hostage, robbed at gunpoint, and lost everything. Okay? Now mind you, I'm still standing here. We're still here. Because it was at that time that we relied on our faith. It was at that time that we said, if God brought me here for a reason, by God, He will bring it back tenfold. Whatever we lose will be multiplied. Whatever we could do here in Likoni will grow bigger. Obviously, this was not big enough for us. So it's time for us to move on. At that point, we moved to Nairobi. And we started to gather our team here, our technical team, our coordination team. We began working with Voices of Africa, with Intersat Africa, in September 2009. And then, in February 2010, we launched the first Spark. The first Spark was in Diani, and Diani is also on the south coast, further away, more safe community. It's been there now for over a year, and we're proud to say that it's running, and we have the team members who brought it together with us today. In September of 2010, we started our first training school in Webuye, on a modified course of what we had planned to use in Likoni, because I was still determined that if people had the skills and the knowledge of how to use equipment, that we could make this change. So we just continued to move forward. Since we opened the Webuye Training Center, we've trained over 200 rural youth. We've started in ICT Basics, and now we've trained 20 of them on ICT for Development. That training center was built specifically so that we could seek a partnership like what we have here today at ANU. So it's a blessing come full circle, because we knew that if we were able to build this training center, we were able to make impact, then we would be able to duplicate that. And thus our efforts would go further and farther. Opening this new classroom symbolizes great growth towards our vision. I believe in the power of God and the youth to come together for the good of the country and for the world. I believe we can end the immense suffering of extreme poverty in this lifetime with the right tools, knowledge, and understanding. I'm not normally a preacher, just so you know. Standing behind a pulpit makes me kind of nervous. But I would like to say something about Solomon, just especially for my students to hear this and think about it. Tough time. So Solomon was a great king and a great teacher. And he said, "Blessed is the man who finds wisdom, the man who gains understanding. For she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She's more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare to her. Long life is in her right hand. In the left, riches and honor." So we're talking about wisdom here. A few paragraphs later it says, wisdom says, "Do not withhold good from those who deserve it. When it is in your power to act," I believe it's in each of our power to act. This action that we're taking right here and right now is the beginning of something new on this continent. It's the beginning of something new for our future. And then I ask myself, if we have that power, and through the sharing of knowledge, we gain wisdom, then I know 100% that we can change the world. It relieves any doubt from my mind, because we're seeking the right things. We are giving people that knowledge that they never had the opportunity to access before. So then I turn and I say, well, in comparison, we have these small devices, these ideas from Huawei. This small device can reduce maternal mortality by 90%, just by monitoring the care of a woman. I know that we can drastically reduce the amount of children who die under the age of 5. We can drastically reduce the amount of children who die of malaria. There are 3,000 children on this continent per day. And something so simple as a medical system that can be done on a handheld device for less than $100 could take care of that problem. We have the solutions here and now, for the first time in history. The question is, are we going to use these solutions? I know from my research that we can help teach farmers ways to make more money for their crops so they can pay school fees for their children and buy them shoes. These children are now educated. We're changing the cycle, breaking the pattern of poverty. I know that we can put African craftspeople, the often forgotten second largest employer on the continent, under the worldwide marketplace through e-commerce. I've learned this through help from other people. I know we can change the present and the future. We're lighting a spark of hope. And I hope you will all join us, and more.